There you
Go
go.
live. Finally. Okay. Okay. Let's get this rolling. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the August 11th, 2023 Town Hall. Looks like, do we not have John today? That's unusual.
Yeah, I'll send him a reminder. He sometimes just gets sidetracked.
Yeah, sure. Sarah, thank you for dropping in the additional notes here. And no, my plan was not to take over updating the post from the hub. I just did that because I saw your request for the new workflowy link late this morning, and I didn't want to ask you to have to scramble to get that done. So I went ahead and just dropped them in since those are already in the system.
Okay.
But I wanted to, because I feel like we've been spending a little bit less time on the posts from the hub lately. I'd like to start with those just to make sure that we have got enough time to walk through them. Also, because we have, a handful of them. I thought there are a couple of kind of interesting things on there that I'd like to walk through. Jeremy, is there an easy way to get rid of my controls on the top of the screen that I'm sharing for Zoom? To make those.
We don't see those, but I think for you there should be a there should be a little button that you can click to hide it, to dock it up top. I don't remember what it looks like because I don't see
Got it.
There
Got
you
it.
go. Okay.
Okay, sweet. That's just fine. Alrighty, so let's start with post from the hub. We've got one from Courtney Knowles, who is our Illinois champion for our ATP program, Jeremy. She and I had a discussion last week, and she will be both an e-NABLE member and a representative of the IATP.
That's great. That's ideal to have somebody actually part of the organization that's involved. That's great.
So she's been wonderful. She put me in touch with a couple of folks who might be able to assist in getting more of a formalized relationship going between e-NABLE and the national AT3 group, which is the sort of sub-community within all of the state Assistive Technology Act programs that are primarily interested in the use of 3D printing and other technologies. I've actually been in touch with them previously, but knowing that they are, potentially on board with forming a partnership is very helpful. So I'll be tactfully feeling that out in the weeks ahead. But in short, Courtney had a quick question. She has a client, I actually don't know the terminology that they use, client or recipient, who is relocating. She's going to college this fall, and she has a few partial amputations. She has amputations bilaterally, I think 4 fingers in total, 4 digits, and I believe it's the ring and pinky fingers. Yes, I think that's right. She was interested in fabricating Nick fingers for her so that she would be able to play the piano, which is something she enjoys doing. And she wanted to know, because she will no longer be in Illinois, and Courtney, therefore, due to restrictions of the Illinois Assistive Technology Act, will no longer be able to provide devices for her, since she will no longer be a resident of the state. I actually feel like, oh boy, I was still a resident of Missouri when I was in college outside of Missouri. So I don't know. Maybe that's not, maybe they're a little bit more restrictive there than what your address is listed as. But any thoughts there about how we can go about? I know nothing about our Nick fingers. I don't know if this is something that's easy enough, if they're basically one size fits all, or if they get a little bit more complicated than that.
I wouldn't say they're one size fits all. They do need to be scaled to fit the person.
Well, beyond scale, I mean, obviously.
Beyond scale, I'm not aware of any customizations with the Nick finger. I think it's pretty much just a matter of printing them to the right scale and assembling, and
okay.
right?
Are the nicks static? Can they be like
They're jointed.
manually adjusted? Okay.
They're jointed. They have a cord that runs to something that like a bracelet, so that just
Got
like
it.
the hands, when you bend your wrist, it bends the finger.
So they're a lot like the I've seen a few things on the market like naked prosthetics and a couple of others that well, actually I should show you naked prosthetics. It's really cool. They specialize in this kind of thing, and they just look really cool. They look kind of like Wolverine claws a little bit.
Yeah, those are definitely a higher end.
Sure, sure, but
yeah,
they're really neat.
It's that kind of thing where now I'm trying to figure out, is this wrist what is it that's actually activating the motion? Because I don't see anything past the wrist.
I don't know what this specific device is.
Oh,
I know
what? It looks like he's actually using the finger stumps, because the finger stumps are going through loops. So
Yeah.
I think the residual fingers are actually what activates it. I don't think that's how the Nick finger works, although it might work that way also, because the base of the finger does go into the Nick finger. So if you were to push that down, but in this case, it looks like it's physical linkage that's handling the movement, whereas with the Nick finger, it's the cord that runs to the wrist,
Gotcha.
to the bracelet.
Gotcha. The thing I like about this is they have the materials designed to interact with touch screens.
Oh yeah,
nice. Which is really cool. And I didn't know
there's some kind of a coating that we can put on ours to do that. I believe that's worth looking into.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, especially for index fingers, that's going to be what people are primarily using them for in a lot of cases. So that would be good to.
I mean, you could, I guess there's 3D printing materials that are conductive that would probably do the job. That would be a good experiment for somebody to do.
Okay, cool. I went ahead and replied, just asking for, where she's actually heading, so that if we can establish a connection with that state's ATA program, then we can get the ball rolling in another location and see if we can marry them up with a chapter or an individual base there. Anything else that we can add?
Well, I think you covered it.
Okay. Next, we've got Dr. Kevin Window, old friend. He is a pediatric resident. He's currently based in Belgium. And he is pretty active in printing prosthetics for pediatric cases in his area. I don't know what the prosthetics infrastructure is in Belgium. I have to imagine it's pretty good. And I'd love to pick his brain for why he is in a position to print devices for folks rather than going through a traditional route. Because that would be really good information for us to have to identify, more cases in which e-NABLE makers, can establish a justification for being active in more cases and even more mature areas like that. But for Kevin's specific question here, he is continuing to work on validating a questionnaire for makers of assistive technology. I wanted to be sure to bring this up during today's town hall. This is something that he and his team have been working on for a while. I've already gone through and taken the assessment just to validate. It's a really simple tool. Actually, I can just walk through it really quickly because it's, I think, pretty neat and tidy. I'm going to agree to participate in this study. So it's just a few quick questions. Let's see, 37. I live in the United States. And then it's going to let me advance without completing. Okay, good. But I think it does a pretty good job of trying to capture, just to get a sense for like who is engaging in this kind of process, who's fabricating devices for folks, what is their experience, what is their success level. I'd like to roll out more of this kind of stuff across the e-NABLE community. And once Kevin gets a little bit further on, I'd really like to pick his brain also on how we can start standardizing some data collection for our members. But I think he's done a really good job with this one. It's pretty easy breezy to complete.
Nice.
Any thoughts or comments here?
I think you're on the right track.
Okay. I hope that this gets some traction. I'll follow up with him in the next week or so and just see if he can get a sense for how many people completed this. He's looking for, I think, just like 40 people. Did he even say? No, I made that up. But I'd like to see a lot of people jump into this and help them out, because I think this could be a benefit to our community as well. Okay, we've got a new member named Kelly. I'm sorry, Kelly.
This was interesting. She posted on, she didn't make her own post. It was just like a wiki August events comment, but yeah, there's a lot of activity on it. So
What the heck? All right, what is this? All right, Kelly Simmons hosted Small Boy from Nicaragua. Below knee. Oh, this is in response to Haley Kwan, or the same line of discussion as Haley Kwan's post. Is that right? I think that's right. Hang on. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Well, Haley Kwan oh, okay, because she also commented in that other thread.
Right, that's why I thought that they were connected, because she was asking about building a below knee prosthesis. She had a specific design in mind that she was pursuing. She said that this is for an 8-year-old boy in Nicaragua, which I believe is what this is about. Yep, small boy from Nicaragua. Shriners is no longer taking international patients in Tampa. Looking for another organization to help him. We want to fly he and his mother to the States Coast while he's being fitted.
So I think there's probably a bigger discussion to be had here.
Yeah.
I'd really like to have this when John is here. There have been past discussions with the FDA where they've been pretty clear that they are not comfortable with us doing lower leg devices because of the risks involved. There's been subsequent conversation about, well, what if our makers just help to, help makers in other countries where they don't have those restrictions, and we're making a device for them and it's not going into the US. My concern with that is, as soon as you have something like Haley's post above where she's sharing a design, now I think that was just an image of a prototype, but if she were to actually share, hey, here's the STL files that I came up with, even if it was designed for somebody in Nicaragua, that somebody in the US is going to download that and eventually make one. And if people start making them here, my concern is, does that get the attention of the FDA on us in a negative way, where they start to interfere with the other work that they previously didn't have a problem with? So I just think that's something we have to be cautious about.
No, I think that's fair. So I responded this morning to Haley's separate post with the design that she dropped here, just saying that we don't have a huge number of folks who are comfortable or experienced in lower extremity fabrication and fitting. The demands of weight supporting devices like this are higher than upper extremity designs, and the potential ramifications of failure are much, much higher. I am planning to, I opened the door and will push a little bit harder to try to encourage her to work with an actual prosthetist.
I think that's key, working with prosthetists on this. The only e-NABLE members I can think of that we had really doing work on lower leg devices, I believe it was Ahmad in Syria, and their devices were built around an actual steel bar. It wasn't the actual device itself wasn't all 3D printed.
I think this one is too. This one has a pylon in the design. I mean, yeah, so we can see that we have a central pylon. The socket, honestly, is the area that I would have the most concern because of the potential for skin breakdown. The fit has, you've got to have someone who knows what the hell they're doing. It's not just fitting to the limb, it's having areas of give in a specific place, knowing how the entire chain is oriented, so that there's appropriate pressure relief. There's the use of how the system is going to be donned, so that there's I think
that's where it's really important to have a prosthetist involved. And then if you go to the other end where the pylon interfaces with the foot, it gets into a real important discussion about
Yeah.
what materials are being used, how strong are those materials, were they printed in a way that was done right, where they have maximum strength.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of considerations here. So I think having, if somebody's going to do this, I agree with you 100%. Having a professional being the one doing the assessing is really critical.
I mean, I have some concerns even with like, something as simple as a Phoenix hand with just pressure relief. I think that if there's not good communication or knowledge on the part of the maker about wear schedules and like how long you can safely whoop, so it doesn't,
Yeah.
how long you can safely wear something like this.
Yeah.
I think that's just, that risk is increased many times over when you start getting into full body weight bearing. So,
and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but this is part of what you and Jason will be working on, right? Is putting together documented guidance for our community about how and why they should be working with medical professionals.
so this is more what I'm working on with Tainara.
Okay, great.
But yeah, whether that's a Wildmont thing or just a me thing is kind of blurry.
Okay, no, you're right. You and
but-
Tainara would be the ideal partnership for that.
Yeah.
You're right.
So she and I are part of what we're trying to do is develop some guidelines and education for folks who do not have a medical background or understanding to so that this kind of thing does. I mean, I could see someone printing something like this and being really excited. And then what does that look like once you actually hand it over to the patient? Do they know, guidelines for washing the socket? Do they know guidelines for like limb care? Do they know how to like, ease a person
when
into
there's a warning sign of a problem?
Yeah. And there are subtleties of gait that can cause problems 6 months, 2 years down the line, even if there's no device failure,
especially with an 8-year-old boy who's growing.
Right. So I would be really hesitant to do something like this. Now, I will say I've reached out to a number of prosthetists who are now members of the e-NABLE community, or at least a few of them are. We are currently exploring. This is something that's neither Wildmont nor outreach. This is really just something that I'm personally interested in. And finally, like doing my original goal of why I joined the e-NABLE community. But I've got a small group of prosthetists, most of whom are based in Africa. I think I brought this up briefly last week. We are looking into making, we're trying to form a working group of folks who can blend traditional fabrication and 3D printing techniques to see if there's a way that we could do this kind of thing while still having it fully in the hands of the prosthetist where the liability and the ownership is there, but allowing for certain components to be sort of crowdsourced to expand the reach and the impact that our community can have. But that is something that really can't address this year. We're too far away from any kind of workable designs or process to make something like that happen. I think that in Haley's case and Kelly's case, they really need to. Especially if they're going to be in Tampa. Florida is lousy with prosthetists, which that's a negative way of putting it. Florida is a big spot for amputees and prosthetics. They should be able to find someone who can help out. In fact, 50 legs. That's based in Tampa, I think. 50 legs, adult and children prosthetics. They provide prosthetics at no cost to people of all stripes. And they try to do as much as they humanly can. I am going to drop this onto the post.
Yeah, that's a good connection.
I'll just drop that for now and I'll add some additional details later. Oh shoot, that was under my Wildmont account. Oh well, that's fine. Let's keep on moving. We've got a couple of new folks. We've got Subhalakshmi, Nike, and Abay. We can just hop into each of those. A couple of these are just hello, how are yous? Subhalakshmi is from Sri Lanka. BSMS, I don't know what that is.
I was just wondering if anyone knew of specific connections there that I could
It
point
looks like it's a
them to.
combined BS and MS program.
Oh, that makes sense. I was thinking, biological engineering something, but no, that makes sense. Dedicating myself to learning is a wonderful journey. That's really, I don't know. I just like that positivity. That's really cool. But looks like Alfred Rashan, one of our transplants from Makers Making Change, hopped in here too. That's really nice to see. Cool. I'll add a post there in just a little bit. We also have something from Nike, interested in becoming a maker of the Phoenix hand, wondering where I can find licensing details for the build. I don't know if licensing is necessarily the word they meant to use, or if they
Well,
genuinely
it might be. So I'll just point out that e-NABLE as an organization doesn't actually exist per se. e-NABLE is just a global community of volunteers. There are some chapters that have registered themselves as organizations, but none of those organizations own these designs. These each individual volunteer
Oops.
that created each
Sorry.
individual volunteer that created a design and shares that design on a site like Thingiverse, that designer gets to choose what license to share it under. Most of our designs have been shared under the Creative Commons attribution license. Some of them have a non-commercial restriction, some of them don't, but almost all of them are under Creative Commons attribution, which means, you can use it as you like. You can even make changes to it as long as you give credit to the original designer. And a lot of them have a clause where you need to kind of reshare your work if you do make changes that are based upon that design. So just, for the Phoenix hand, there are several different versions. There's the Unlimited Phoenix that was done by Team Unlimited in the UK. There's the Phoenix V3 that was based off of that, actually done by me with some changes. There's the original Phoenix V2, not original, but the Phoenix V2 that came before those. Each one of those you'll find on Thingiverse, and they each have a license designated. And again, I believe those are all under Creative Commons attribution.
Gotcha. Jeremy, would you be okay with just summarizing that? I think that there might be an opportunity there to point folks who are new to the community to a high level breakdown of everything you just said, if we don't already have that somewhere on the hub.
I don't know if we do. I wonder if maybe we could just post a link to this part of the recording. Sarah, is that something you could do? Just, link directly to this part of the talk so people can actually hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That'll be
Okay.
easier than me trying to write that all up again.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right. Next we have a Bay. They were asking about what device to recommend. They have a quote unquote first case. Obviously we need we would need a little bit more information. I encouraged Bay to join this morning's or this afternoon's new member meetup. One other thing, Sarah, it looks like in the new member meetup, there's still a note to email ben@enable.org. We might want to update that.
I'm sorry. I thought I had updated that. I guess it didn't save to future meetings, but yes, I can definitely.
I've been having some trouble with updating items in the calendar.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this is a hub problem, but I've been noticing that too. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will try to fix that.
No worries. Thank you. But yeah, hopefully Abe or Abe, I am the worst. Hopefully they can join the new member meetup and add a little bit more detail about who they're trying to make that for. I think that's it. And anything that I missed that anyone's aware of?
Nope.
Okay, cool. I'm going to hop on down. Oh, speaking of issues with the hub, and one post that y'all don't see, you might have gotten notification for it though, is the mission statement poll that I attempted to create this week. For some reason, the poll is posting, but none of the polling options are populating, or rather, only the last polling option was populating, and it was populating multiple times instead of showing all of the options that should have been there. So I reached
Kind
out
of
to
influencing the poll a bit.
well, and also the last option was none of these, so it just said none of these, none of these, none of these. So I just deleted the poll, and I reached out to Masvi on Discord. He and I actually had a conversation. What was that, yesterday or 2 days ago? Just generally
Good,
about
so you
his
made contact.
yeah, but he and I hadn't had a one-on-one, so I reached out to him just to get a sense for, how does he see his commitment looking like moving forward? He is very committed to
Yeah,
the
he's always
community.
he does great work.
He's awesome. I really liked our conversation. It's always interesting when I'm such a generalist. I never really thought that I would become this, but I'm trying to embrace my generalist calling. I love talking to people who are specialists in something. And he knows a lot about what he knows about, and it's really cool talking to people like that. I did want to talk a little bit about the mission statement. So let me hop over here. So because the poll didn't work, I wanted to talk about how hopefully I can get the poll up and running with Mazvi's help. If not, it might be something that we want to just drop on Lumio so that it's accessible for folks to be able to vote on. I don't know if that's
well, you got two good options. I'd say Lumio is one of them. We tend to, Lumio we tend to use for decision making and voting. You could use that, but I would suggest that you think about just using a Google form.
Okay.
I don't know if you've used those before, but they're
I
really
have.
easy to build, and all
Yeah.
the responses go into a Google sheet. So it's really easy to kind of do data analytics afterwards. And
Yeah, I use Google Forms in my day job to get feedback for
so you can
like
just do a
town
Google
halls and
form,
things.
and
Not
then you
town
can
halls.
just share the link in the hub. That's what I would do.
Okay, I can do that. I want to just walk through these really quickly. I dropped an unlinked sub page on the Wildmont site to just highlight these. I've got a couple of possibles and wanted to walk through them very quickly, just like 5 minutes here, and just get some soft feedback from the people on this call for the direction that I've landed on. I put these together based on one-on-one conversations that I've had with a number of people in the community, also based on what we've talked about in our town halls. There were a lot of items that people seem to be really interested in. Themes like the fact that e-NABLE is itself not an organization, but rather a decentralized collective was important to a lot of folks. The sort of forward-thinking use of technology, making things open and available, inspiring folks, especially from folks that are on the education side of things, who are really interested in showing how this community can bring up new generations of makers and trying to be a little bit more community minded. All of those were themes that seemed important. So I took those, applied a little bit of spice to it, and tried to generate 3 separate mission statement possibilities that encapsulated different parts of it to different degrees. So the first one is primarily driven by the themes of community and inspiration. That is, e-NABLE is a community of volunteers, partners, and recipients working together to design and provide 3D printed prosthetics and assistive technology to those in need. Our mission is to inspire and empower makers to restore mobility, dignity, and opportunity for individuals around the world. So I will say, thumb on the scale a little bit, this is my favorite one. Option number 2, we're really driven by the themes of our global nature and elevating rather than inspiring. e-NABLE is a global network of engineers, healthcare professionals, and hobbyists leveraging 3D printing to deliver much needed prosthetics and assistive devices. Our mission is to elevate human function by developing open source, personalized solutions that empower individuals with limb loss and all those in need of assistive technology. I actually like this one more than I did when I first spat it out. This is good. And last one, decentralized and possibility were the driving themes. e-NABLE is a decentralized collective leveraging 3D printing to provide much needed prosthetics and assistive technology. Our mission is to transform lives by creating accessible, personalized solutions that restore independence, confidence, and possibility for individuals with limb loss and those requiring assistive tech. Actually, a little bit of redundancy there that I don't love, that I should probably fix before making that. But those are the 3. We've got community and inspiration, global, elevate, decentralized possibility. Any general thoughts for those on the call about these?
Well, I like the first two more than the third. I like elements from both of the first two. I like the first one probably the most, but I like the fact that the second one includes specific mention of healthcare professionals. So maybe that could be incorporated somehow into the first one. And I also think specifically mentioning open source is important because that's always been a very core element of our DNA,
Cool.
and part of the spirit of our community. So I would say if you could maybe figure out a way to get healthcare professionals and open source into that first one, that would probably be my favorite.
Yeah, I could just swap where it says engineers, healthcare professionals, and hobbyists and replace volunteers, partners, and recipients. Maybe I might,
Although I like volunteers too. So
Yeah, yeah.
and I
um,
like recipients because I
yeah.
feel like that's an area. of
maybe just
focus we
swap
need.
out partners with healthcare professionals,
That's good.
or include both unless that gets too long. I don't know.
No, I like that. And then let's see, you said developing open source personal.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just say open
Open
source
source
3D printer
3D print. Yeah,
prosthetics.
exactly. Just stick it in there, I'd say.
That's good. This is also the shortest one, so that would be easy to plug
Yeah.
in. Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna second what Jeremy says. The first one's definitely my favorites. I just think the healthcare professionals and the open source definitely needs to be added.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. I will make the improvements to the first one, see if I can work with Masvi to get a poll on the hub. And if not, I'll just do a Google form.
Can
And,
I
please.
add something? Yeah. So I for all of them, I'm just wondering, like at the beginning, like you have two words all like a word all caps and then a period and another word all caps and then a period. Is that like a marketing thing or what?
No,
Like,
no,
I was confused by that.
that is not going to be included in the
Oh,
actual
okay.
statement. That
Okay.
that is me putting together a Squarespace page 10 minutes before this meeting started,
Okay.
and just trying to categorize the statements. So
And then for the first one, I like I think they're all good statements, but the first one, there are two words that I just would say be careful about. Inspired, like if just as long as it's clear that you're inspiring makers and not trying to, like, I don't know, there's a lot of
I think I know what you're saying.
the word inspiration in the disability community, it can be very, very offensive when people are like, oh, this is so inspiring, or like, look at
Gotcha.
you with your new arm, like this is really inspiring. Like no one likes to hear that. So just make
That's
sure
great.
that like the way it's used. And then dignity too, like I don't think like anyone who like I don't know, I would struggle with that too. Like it's like how do you know that someone who's lost an arm has lost dignity? Like
Yeah,
I would be careful with that too.
that's very fair. I mean, honestly, a lot of this is coming from my own conversations with patients,
Okay.
more than anything else.
I
But I think
just
that's
like
fair.
I just think every patient is going to be different, and like a lot of people with limb loss don't feel like at least that I've either talked to or learned about, like I don't think they would say like equate loss of dignity with loss of limb. So
I totally hear you.
Yeah.
I think maybe avoiding the appearance of white knighting would
Mhm.
maybe be a good
yeah.
driving philosophy when and putting this together. I think that's a really
Yeah.
good point. Okay, cool. I'll make those changes and make sure that we are not riding in on a horse on
Yep.
any of these.
Yep,
Okay, cool.
I think that's really important.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, in that case, let me move down to something that's top of mind for me every day. defining Wildmont targets. We've been actively engaged with Wildmont, and putting on my other hat, we have been actively engaged with e-NABLE for exactly 1 month now. And I think that it's time that we pin down exactly how we are measuring success and determining whether or not we've met e-NABLE's expectations for this partnership. When we submit for renewal of this contract in about, actually, we'll probably have to submit in about a month if we're going to provide adequate time on Lumio to assess this for another 3 months. How do we actually grade to make a go, no go decision? So I wanted to turn that over to y'all, because obviously I've got the, most vested interest here. And wanted to make sure that we have a clear target that we are aiming to as Wildmont reps to make sure that we're actually delivering on what needs to be delivered on.
I'd say we'd have to kind of go back to the initial proposal, because in the proposal you identified a number of key objectives, and I would say it would be best to focus on identifying sort of key metrics in each of those key objective areas. The easiest one is the one that revolves around, fundraising and grant opportunities. I would say any net increase in funds that exceeds the cost of your program would be a really good metric to start with. The others might be a little bit trickier to come up with specific metrics for, but that's the approach I'd take, is to look at each of those stated areas of objectives and kind of come up with what are the measures of success for each area.
Okay. Do you want me to walk through here and next week, during next week's town hall, just submit to whoever is on that call a proposal for how we should be assessed? Or do you want to?
I think it makes sense for you to take a stab at it and I'm happy to help you with that, but I think this kind of thing is a little tricky to do on the fly.
Oh, and I didn't mean to make a determination here. I just wanted to open the conversation.
But yeah, just like when I look at expected results and impact, I think it's really just something to go along with each of those. How do we measure member engagement? We have some metrics on the hub that we can use for that, as far as how many posts per week, how many, how much commenting there is going on, how many badges are being claimed. We could look at some of those different things and come up with what makes sense. Improve project task management capabilities. I'd say that's a matter of, getting Trello going and somehow measuring its usage, how many people we have making use of it, how many projects have been run through it, something like that. So I think for each one of these is just a matter of thinking about, okay, how do we measure that thing using the data at our disposal?
Okay. I think that in the last month we've been getting a lot of boulders pushed up hills. I think we're getting to the point where we're going to start pushing them down and seeing, make sure they stay on track and that we're actually producing some things that are of value to the community. Just while we're on the subject, Jason is continuing to chase down partnership leads. He's also, I believe he was going to share the video with me this morning. He might have gotten sidetracked. But I know that he has produced a base template that could be used for marketing purposes, that we can plug, any, video snippets into to make as a component of a marketing package, or, a partnership attracting package, or something that we can just drop on the website. So he's started the process of building some of those assets. But I think where I have been mostly engaged has been in website development, trying to get some of these standards in place. And then Sarah, I think you and I need to connect starting next week about kicking off this chapter audit, and seeing if we can do that 2-bird, 1-stone approach to getting the audit in place and also collecting collateral to develop marketing assets. So if that sounds good, if you have bandwidth next week to start kicking that off, I can send you a calendar invite request. We can start plugging away at that. If that sounds good.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Cool. As it stands, I need to do our hours for the month, the 40 hours for this past month. I will be uploading that to the space on the hub, the Wildmont space. And then moving forward, I will make sure those are updated every week. Just a weekly breakdown of where our hours have been dedicated. Yeah, for next week, I will just plan on walking through here and creating some mission objectives so that we can be graded once we submit for reapproval, if that sounds good. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. On the subject of the website, I wanted to just mention that Azure and I are continuing to meet here. I think that we've been doing a lot of brainstorming and we're very excited about what we might be able to do here. I am most excited about the potential for directing traffic where people actually want to go. Obviously, the number one issue that we've identified on enablingthefuture.org is that people search for opportunities to be engaged with the organization and they have no idea how to get to what it is they want to do, or they have a difficult time, I should say. If you're a potential donor or a potential recipient or a potential maker, it's really hard to find the exact resources that you want to pull in. So we are currently mapping out how that would feel for a visitor to the site. I also want to note that Azure's wife, Samreen, is very interested in assisting with this effort. She is a QA engineer who is looking for an activity to volunteer her time to. And after Azure joined here, she became very interested and would like to assist in developing the site as well. So she is going to be doing a little bit of testing, and we'll also look for some other opportunities for her to contribute some of her free time. But she's great. She and I had a conversation earlier this week too, and I think that she would be a really great addition to that team. Already mentioned the issues that I'm having with the polling and reaching out to MASV. Our e-NABLE fund is unchanged from last week. Any comments on the fund? Okay, I know that we had some communication with that John reached out to the director of the Dora Foundation, and we can explore that in a little bit more detail once we have a little bit more information. It looks like they renew their commitments annually, so we are going to be looking at establishing some communication with them about possibly increasing their annual commit if that's something that they have in their bank, and if they have an interest there. I think that we really need to start, I think, on the subject of renewing partnerships, look at how we can be of more, whether there are opportunities to define benefits to partners. So whether it's dropping banner icons on their site, or if there's a way that we can boost a presence. I think that Jason and I are in discussions to try to kick off more of a social media push. I know this is something that's come up a few times in town hall meetings, but is this, Jeremy, given your position as the leader of a company, I mean, how would a partnership with an organization like e-NABLE be of potential benefit to 3D Universe, say? Like, in what way would affiliating with e-NABLE, obviously there's a lot of synergy in terms of what it is you produce, so that's a little bit more natural.
We're a
but-
little bit of a unique case. I mean, I literally built 3D Universe around e-NABLE in the beginning.
Well, there you go.
And you know, the fact that we produce the assembly material kits ourselves, as far as I know, nobody else is making those. So that's kind of a key thing for us. I'd say the main thing for us over time has grown, what it's grown into is that our business, I mean, you know, we specialize, as you know, in selling, you know, 3D printers and other digital fabrication solutions. Our largest customer base has always been in education. We sell to a lot of schools and
Okay.
maker spaces and that sort of thing. And obviously we have a lot of schools that are part of e-NABLE. And so that's where a lot of our synergy comes from, is a lot of those schools that, you know, see how wonderful e-NABLE is and see how students have responded so well to it in other schools. They want to get involved. Okay, well, now they need some 3D printers and they come to us because we're involved. And so that's been a beneficial synergy for us.
Okay, so maybe exploring grants specifically for education. I know that there are a number of those out there that I don't believe we've pursued in the past. There are a lot of state level systems. I know that in talking with Ian, oh my gosh, the gentleman in Georgia who's heavy on the education front, whose name is, help me out, Jeremy.
I'm trying to think.
His name
Is
is
it-
Brent. His name is Brent Holler.
Brent, thank you, not Ian Roy, Brent. I always get them mixed up. Yes, Brent mentioned the idea, and I think this is a very good one, of creating curriculum that we could post for sale for classroom educators. This could be something that is I don't know if this is something that e-NABLE wants to be in the business of doing, but I thought this is a really interesting concept of creating curriculum that aligns with state standards that we could make available to educators who could purchase them through state grant programs for STEM education. I think there's some potential there, and whether we price it at like $1,500 or whatever, the entirety of that cost could be supplied through the successful application of a grant request. And then I think that just to make sure that there's some that this is equitable for educators who submit for a grant and aren't approved, I think, offering a severe cut in the actual price of that, just to make sure that this is still open to people who aren't able to secure. I don't know. I feel like there's a way that we could start monetizing some of the content that the community has producing in a way that is not exploitative, that can actually increase the increase the reach of some of these materials that people like Brent and others have been developing. Thoughts there? Is that anything that might be worth pursuing?
Adam, I have to apologize. I got into a little bit of multitasking here. Maybe some comments.
That's okay.
And we have the education new members meeting coming up in, so I have to probably go in a couple of minutes to
Well, we'll have to free
open-
up this Zoom account too.
open that up. But I just wanted to so this month's e-NABLE meetings is updated for August. The newsletter went out at the beginning of the week, and it's a very full calendar this month. So, and there's a great bio about Tanara that everyone should check out.
Awesome. I haven't looked
so,
at that yet.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Okay, well, thank you, Sarah. I apologize. I haven't had a chance I haven't made time, I should say, to walk through that, but that sounds really cool.
Yeah, nice
Let me
job
just-
on the newsletter.
Let me just say really quickly on the subject of speakers for August, Florian Valleys will be speaking at next week's town hall. he will be talking about his company, Ugani Prosthetics, and specifically addressing how to more successfully create targeted initiatives to support regions in the developing world. So yeah, something that's very much up our alley. I also wanted to, I realize it's kind of a bomb to drop at the end of the meeting. I wanted to talk about the cadence of these town halls and whether we wanted to continue hosting them weekly, or whether that it might be more effective, or that there might be an advantage to maybe changing to a bi-weekly format. I'm perfectly happy continuing to host things every single week, but I wasn't sure whether or not we actually had the content that would require a weekly meeting. So just food for thought before we meet again.
I would just say, Adam, that now that you've taken these over, I really think that's your call to make, and we'll support you, whatever you think is going to be most effective. I would submit that there's a third option to consider, because I'm doing the same thing with another volunteer community I'm working on. We're working on the same decision right now. Weekly meetings are easy to remember, same day every week. For
That's
me,
true.
at least, bi-weekly is a little more challenging because you have to remember, is this an on week? Is this an off week? So another option you could consider is monthly, because then you can just say first Friday of every month or something like that, which is as easy
Yeah.
to remember, I think.
I think that's fair. I think that my concern about monthly is that I think that there's been a lot of energy that has been generated by these regular touch points, and I worry about losing that by shifting.
I have to
Oh,
start the
yep.
education new members.
You're good.
Now.
Okay. Food for thought
Oh,
for next time.
Yeah, and we got to end this one because she's on the same Zoom account, Adam.
I'm going to try to do that as quickly as I can. Oh my God, where's my control menu?
Well, if you just end the meeting, yeah, just end meeting, and then that'll end the live stream.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.